Hey folks, welcome back to another HP Gaming GameLINK adventure. We are going to be building up our decks, we're going to be acquiring champions, sending them out into the world and trying to conquer the board as much as we can as we take a look and review the Ascension Tactics Miniatures deck building game. Hi folks, welcome back. For those of you who don't know me, and you should by now, my name is Matt, but it's okay because we are destined to become the very best of friends. Today I thought we'd take a throwback, a bit of a look back to some stuff we've unboxed obviously over the last couple of months, because we have been doing a lot of unboxing videos and trying to get everything to the table has been a bit crazy. So I thought I'd take a step back and have a look at this wonderful cavalcade of things you see before you that make up the Ascension Tactics Miniatures deck building game. At first glance, this was just an evolution of Ascension as far as I was aware. It was a game where there was tactical area control on the board, a deck building, same gameplay as Ascension as you would normally have, but with the ability now to spend your combat points to command different miniatures around the board and into scoring positions for capture the flag, area control, that sort of stuff. It is, I'm happy to say, so much more than that. What you see before you here is a basic sort of setup. I've just sort of thrown bits and pieces together, and only a small, and I mean small, sample of the different miniatures that are available within this big box that you see behind me. There is, if you haven't already, watch our unboxing video, which you can find here, and that will basically give you a rundown of how much is in this massive Kickstarter edition of this game. There are cards as far as the eye can see, enough for 1 to 4 players out of the box. There are treasure components, there are tiles that you can place around this board to do all sorts of crazy honor tokens en masse, as you would expect. A core center deck of crazy center cards that allow you to acquire heroes into your deck, but also allow you to acquire champions, which are represented by miniatures, and miniatures in spectacular fashion, I must say. There are tiles and terrain tiles that you can use. There's forest, there's wood. It even comes with the board, and one of the sides of the boards is blank. There's also this side here, which has effectively the first scenario or a tutorial setup printed on the board ready to play. So you can just unfold the board, pick your team, and go for it. At its core, it is effectively the Ascension game that we know and love. Deck building, looking for honor points, that sort of stuff. It's pretty much the same. If you've played an Ascension game, you will basically run with this. The added complexity of using your combat points to command miniatures around the battlefield and get them to move into position to be in a point scoring position, take out opposition, as well as eliminate threats on the board. It gives you just that extra little bit of strategy in terms of how you spend your points. You can't really, well, you can use your combat points to still defeat monsters that appear in the row here, but you'll be more hard pressed to use those combat points to move your figures around the board and try and get into a scoring position. For example, if you have, say you're commanding Flytrap Witch and you get 3 movement points to get her onto this scoring hub, this honor shrine, that will generate you honor points at the end of your turn. And in most scenarios, there is a score limit. So in this case, the Battle of the 3 Shrines, first to 30 points wins. That's it. There are different rules for different player counts as well. There is a core rulebook that goes over all the different mechanics of how the games work, the different play modes that are available, of which I'm happy to say there are plenty. But there's also the scenario book, and that is where this game truly shines. It gives you a sandbox for you to build up any sort of maps you like. It doesn't really specify that you can just build the map as you see fit. But you better believe you can. You can set up a scenario based on where shrines would be, discuss with your other players what the scoring mechanisms are going to be, and then just go for it. and it gives you the ability to place gateways to bring your champions onto the field pretty much anywhere you like. So imagine back in the day, you've got Warcraft 2 editor and you're building maps. This is the same principle, just in a real 3D element form. So you can build whatever maps you like. The scenario book comes with a plethora of scenarios that you can play through, different styles of gameplay, mechanics, area control, eliminate those people, eliminate these people until there's just one team left standing, that sort of stuff. It also has, and this is fantastic, a campaign mode in 5 acts. So you can pick a particular faction, Enlightened, Void, Lifebound, or Makana, and then effectively start off with just 2 heroes, or 2 champions, I should say, and build through that scenario a team of champions that you can take the fight to all your adversaries and your foes that you'll come across over 5 different scenarios. You can do one-shots, you can carry on and make it a one big long session. The best part about all of this is the gameplay on this is relatively straightforward and simple. There is, I think there's probably more complexities within the solo mode, which I'll come to in a moment. But the pick up and play aesthetics, if you've played any deck building game anywhere, you will be able to understand how this works really quickly, and you'll be off and racing and moving your people around the board and doing all sorts of damage and wonderful things like that. The playtime on this, it specifies 45 minutes to an hour, 30 minutes to an hour. If you're learning the game, it's going to be longer, but once you've sort of got the mechanics of how it plays, and if you're moving from your deck building into actually commanding troops on the battlefield, it's pretty straightforward. Most of them can only move 3 spaces at a time, and if they're within 1 hex of another model, they basically can do damage, and the damage is printed on the card. You can play treasure modifiers to increase or decrease, attack and defense. And obviously you'll have cards through combat that'll allow for your allegiancy things, so you can have combos and things that will cause trouble as well. There is so much going on in terms of your combos with your cards in hand versus what's in play on the table. And I love that you can really combo up a turn where you end up doing a mountain of damage to your enemies. And then you score points at the end of your turn as well, only at the end of your turn, for the honor tokens that are on the battlefield and any area control that you have. So it's simplistic, but also quite complex in terms of your tactics that you'll need to use and how you play the game. Each gameplay that I've had of this plays very differently to the last, only because different cards may come out. Players may do different things and move different ways, and your tactics that you bring to the table will affect the battlefield as well. The solo mode for this is not bad. Some solo modes for deck builders can be a bit meh. One of the best solo modes or solo experiences I've had of late with a deck builder has been with Dune. Dune Imperium has a great solo mode. This solo mode here it's clever. I do like it. It's a bit of a gimmick, but I dig it. There is a deck of cards called a scheme deck, and effectively they control villains. So you will have your set of your set of champions, because heroes and champions are different in this game. You'll have your set of champions that you will control, and then they will have a team of 4 villains that the AI will control. Each villain has a command icon, and that icon will basically dictate where they're going to head on the battlefield if they can't attack an opponent. So in the solo mode, if you play a card, a solo mode card, a scheme card, if I can find one from the scheme deck, will have a bit of detail on it. There you go, you can see it there. It will have the name of the card, the scheme, what happens, and then of course it will have a combo bonus. So if you have discarded 8 scheme cards already, the secondary part will activate, and that is when things get nasty. But they'll have a command symbol, and that symbol will dictate which of the villains will activate. They'll move their 3 spaces or more, depending on what it is with the particular champion that is being moved. And they will always try to move towards an opposing champion to thwart them, to eliminate them from the board. If they cannot do that, they will move towards their objective marker and try and score honor points. And obviously, if the AI scores 30 honor points before you do, you lose. It sounds very simple and very kitschy, but it does pose quite a challenge, because if the villains do wipe out your heroes en masse and are left on the board racking up points at the end of their turn, It can be very nasty. In addition, you will elect a boss monster, a boss enemy villain, and if that villain moves on to a hero shrine, for example, they score an immediate 2 points before they score the points at the end of their turn. So there is that added pressure of get your heroes out there, get them to control the area, and try and do as much damage as possible. The additional ability of being able to control the main villain from the original OG Ascension game, Samael, is really, really cool. His model is just boss. It's epic. And being able to have models for cards that feature in the original game, like Master Dartha. Master Dartha here is not a dragon. Master Dartha is the guy riding the dragon, so effectively you're commanding Master Dartha to bring a dragon out into the battlefield and cause absolute chaos. And I love it. It's an amazing model. It looks fantastic on the table. So playing through the scenarios, playing through the base game at its core as a 2 to 4 player, 1 to 4 player battler, I do think the tactics brought in by human players as opposed to the AI is fundamentally more entertaining, because you cannot really honestly predict where a human player is going to go. That's a lot of fun. However, I have had a lot of fun with the solo mode, and if I get a chance, I will try and record a solo playthrough for you, because it is a fantastic little solo experience that you can have in 30 to 45 minutes, which is brilliant. I'm a big fan of deck builders. That's no secret. Deck building is one of my favorite board gaming genres. So being able to sit here with a huge bunch of minis, play my hand of cards, combo up, and then move them across the battlefield and get them to try and take out some really bad guys, like taking out Samael with a Flytrap Witch after she combos up a massive amount of damage. It feels really good. So it's definitely worth a look. And being able to pull treasures from the treasure bag. So at a certain point, you might be asked to pull a treasure. If there's not a treasure on the space you're on, your card might say pull a treasure from the bag, and that could give you honor points. It could give you combat or movement bonus points to get you further across the map. Being able to, instead of, this is the other thing I really like. In the original Ascension, you have cultists who always supply you with 1 honor point, and they're always available to be beaten up on and all the rest of it. So you never have, I've got this excess combat, what can I do with it? Smack down a cultist and get an honor point. It's great, but in this game, you are able to not only just whack down and beat up on a cultist, you are able to actually bring them out onto the board to work for you. So in the Kickstarter edition, you get a little base that you can claim your cultist, because all the sculpts are the same, but you can actually bring a cultist out onto the battlefield to work with you as your team, which I think is fantastic. So you can actually use them as champions as opposed to just, smacking up on them and causing trouble. They are cannon fodder. They have 1 hit point and they only do 2 damage, but that might be the difference between victory. If you get a bunch of these in control around a control point, you might be scoring honor points because each champion can only attack once per turn unless the card says otherwise. There is a lot to talk about and unpack about this game. There is so much going on with the different tile setups and everything else as well. It's a brilliant adaptation, I guess, of the Ascension that we all know and love. And I think this is probably, as I said before, the evolution of where deck builders can go. I think there's a lot of deck builders out there that have started to incorporate other mechanics. Dune Imperium, I mentioned before. And there are other games that have gone one step further and have taken the deck building mechanic and applied it to other things. Quacks of Quedlinburg is a bag builder that uses a similar mechanic. Meeples and Monsters, which we've unboxed recently on the channel, that is another one that is effectively a deck builder at heart, but with meeples as opposed to cards. So there is something about that deck building mechanic that is taking over and finding its way into other mainstream games. And that blending of mechanics I'm finding is really fantastic. Clank, one of my favorite deck builders. It is a deck builder, but there's a board. You can use the generation points of what you put on the cards to move around the board and go dungeon delving. What an experience that is as well. So deck building as it's at a core game, and we have Dominion to thank for this, is becoming something that is far superior in terms of mechanics that we're seeing in gaming across the board. Ascension Tactics, though, the miniatures deck building game, it looks amazing on the table when it's set up. The player area you have is not massive. You'll have your card set up. The fact that you can start with 4 champions and acquire more as the game goes on, that's fantastic as well. So you can actually not just build out your deck, but you can build out your army of champions as well. That's fantastic as well. I'm a big fan of deck builders anyway, as we know. Big fan of Ascension, but this just takes it to the next level. And I have a feeling that my base copy of Ascension, all the expansions and everything else are in my big box. I don't know how much that's going to hit the table anymore, because this is everything we know and love about the Ascension line in a massive, souped up, awesome package of incredible. It's definitely worth checking out. I can highly recommend it. By all means, if you have any comments, if you've played Ascension Tactics, let me know what you think in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts on this one. Mad props to our Patreon subscribers for allowing us to do all the crazy stuff we do here on the channel. Thank you very much for all your support. If you want to get on board, you can always jump on board the Patreon page or hit that subscribe button and like the video, just so you are aware whenever we post something new. You can join our HB Gaming Gamer Army and see all the crazy stuff we do on the channel. More live videos and content coming your way, more unboxings, more playthroughs coming your way as well. Charlotte is chomping at the bit to get a playthrough of Kids Table Board Gaming's Creature Comforts, which is fantastic. We really enjoy that one as well. But yes, for now, I am going to clear away the table, set up a scenario, and go hammer and tongs for some Ascension Tactics time while I've got some downtime. I will let you guys get back to the table. Make sure you get out there. Make sure you play lots more games. And we'll see you back at the table very, very soon for more awesome board gaming content. Until then, it is bye for now.